So, did you guys see Marvin Harrison Jr. express interest in playing in Indianapolis? Now, no, it wasn't specifically for the Colts, but let me read you this quote right here, okay? Marvin Harrison Jr., this is. I think for me, as a player, one moment I have yet to get that I really want to is a Big Ten championship. It would be a special moment, special game for me to go back there. I obviously watched my dad play so many times in that stadium, and to go back there and play in Indy, that's one of the goals. That's probably the biggest goal I have this year. Now, is this Colts news? No, not technically, but there is something here, right? I mean, I can't be the only one feeling that. This is Marvin Harrison's son expressing interest in playing in Indianapolis. And this kid right here isn't some crappy remake of his father. Marvin Harrison Jr. is special. And even if not particularly likely that he comes and plays for us through next year's draft, it isn't particularly unlikely, right? I mean, we have an up-and-coming young quarterback. There is the possibility, despite my expectations, that we stink this year. We can't act blind to it, right? Even if we are hopeful and we have some confidence. And now let's be honest, the sheer thought of Marvin Harrison Jr. playing in Indianapolis is, well, completely legendary, right? So I figured why not at least explore the idea, am I right? I mean, this video right here is by no means to make some sort of declaration that the Colts are getting him, all right? So let's not get this confused, and it's not me lobbying for us to do whatever it takes either, right? But I figured it is that time of the offseason, right? We might as well go there, and don't get me wrong, despite the fact that this is kind of in the experimental, far-fetched type of territory, is this relevant? I would not be recording this if I didn't think there was something here, right? So I think you may actually be surprised at how easily this dream could end up becoming a reality. I mean, in a smaller market like Indianapolis, when you have superstar talent that potentially wants to play for you, you got to take notice, right? So let's get this thing started up. And for you returning listeners, you already know I always start by introducing myself. So for those of you who've never been here before, my name is Justin. This is the Ride in the Bench Colts cast. I make Colts content all the time. I'm up to multiple times a week. Hopefully I can keep this pace up. I think it'll get easier and easier as the season gets closer. The one thing I ask of anyone who comes here, other than to enjoy the video, of course, is to just shoot it a like if you're enjoying it. That's going to help me get out to as many Colts fans as possible. Ultimately, my goal here is to grow, become a major player in the Colts industry, right? And then if you want to be around for the journey, we are on the quest on this channel. It's happened pretty fast to get to 1,000 subscribers. And I know there's a lot of people coming back and listening who aren't subscribers. So you particularly, if you are, if this isn't your first time seeing this mug right here, go ahead and shoot a subscription. Help me get to 1,000 followers on this page. And without further ado, I think that brings us into the episode. So, for starters, one of the objections that some people may have here is the idea that Marvin Harrison Jr. maybe wouldn't want to play for Indianapolis at risk of, right, being in the shadow of his father, the great Marvin Harrison. Now, whether that literally be the pressure of living up to those expectations or just his own individual desire to be his own man, I will say that is probably a fair objection, and it may be true, right? So if we found out that were true, this would be a completely different conversation. In fact, this wouldn't be much of a conversation at all, right? But the reality is that we don't know one way or another, and I would actually tend to be more on the side of the fact that he would actually embrace playing for Indianapolis, right? Keep in mind, this wouldn't just be him playing for his dad's former team, right? That's obviously a big piece of it, but this would also be him getting coached by Reggie Wayne, who you'd imagine has a special bond with his father, right? For obvious reasons. Now, I don't know for sure, but if I were a betting man, which I am, by the way, but I won't be betting on this, I would bet on the fact that Marvin Harrison Jr. and Reggie Wayne already have some sort of relationship, right? And if they didn't or don't, probably wouldn't take that long to develop. And if the Colts were to get Marvin Harrison Jr., right? I'm going all the way down the rabbit hole here. Can you imagine the impact that Reggie Wayne would have an opportunity to make on the Colts organization, right? I mean, Reggie Wayne, make no mistake, is already an obvious, really doesn't even need to be stated, but I'm doing it anyway. Reggie Wayne is a Colts legend, right? And now there's no secret, or it's no secret, that Josh Downs is a Reggie Wayne guy too, right? So imagine a world where Reggie Wayne is one, right about Josh Downs, which doesn't seem to be quite as surefire as Marvin Harrison Jr., but number one being that, and then number two, he gets an opportunity to coach Marvin Harrison Jr. on his path to greatness. I mean, talk about contributing to the cause, right? And I mean, listen, I just wanted to shout out Reggie Wayne because I love seeing that he's coaching for this organization. Now, regardless of all those things and his desire maybe to play in Indianapolis, if that exists, maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, but hell, that's what content creation's all about, right? Sorry, guys. Don't hate the player, hate the game. And we want to actually look into the practicality of this happening, or like the circumstances that would lead to it, right? Because as it currently stands, the Colts have three young receivers on rookie deals that they believe in, right? One being obviously Josh Downs, who we just drafted, Alec Pierce, and Michael Pittman. Now, that being said about the rookie deals, we also know that Michael Pittman is in that contract year. He's in the last year of that rookie deal. And I root for Michael Pittman as much as anybody on planet Earth. Maybe not, but I root for him a lot. But the reality is this: there is a good possibility that Marvin Harrison Jr. comes in and is better than Michael Pittman on day one in the NFL. Let me just put that is absolutely no slight on Michael Pittman whatsoever, at least not an intentional one. I'm sure he would take it as one. So sorry, Michael Pittman, if you so happen to see my show. But it's actually a testament to how good I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is, right? And believe me, I am not alone on that one, right? And that doesn't even include the fact that the unfortunate part of this all is that there's a relatively large subset of Colts Nation that really wants Marvin Harrison Jr. here and wants Michael Pittman out the door, right? And again, I certainly don't agree with the second half of that. I love Michael Pittman Jr. I think he's horribly underrated by Colts Nation. Every time I say that, everyone says no one hates Michael Pittman. I assure you, there's plenty of Michael Pittman hate out there. I'm not just creating that. There's no point in me creating that. I have no desire to create that. There's a lot of people who hate on Michael Pittman, and I don't quite know why. But the unfortunate part of that, for us Pittman lovers, is that he's due to get paid between anywhere from, 18 to $20 million? And, if the team were to not be good, we'd be in prime position to be drafting a Marvin Harrison type guy, right? I mean, obviously it's early, but the widely held presumption, I don't know how to say it. A lot of people think Marvin Harrison's going to be a high pick next year, right? That's my point. And you do wonder, as much as we're excited about Anthony Richardson, and boy, am I excited about that guy, Anthony Richardson. Oh, Lord, the MVP of this season, Rookie of the Year, the whole bit, right? What is the best case scenario for him in terms of passing yards? Is it like, even now with 18 games or 17 games in 18 weeks, 3,500 yards for Anthony Richardson through the air? 4,000, I think, is far-fetched, but maybe I'd give you 4,000, right? And again, imagine that were to be the case, and then the Colts weren't good. There just wouldn't be a lot of production to go around. And then you look back at Michael Pittman, and then it becomes even harder to pay him after some, let's say he has 80 receptions, 800 yards, and a few touchdowns, right? Even if we understand that a stat line for Michael Pittman's talent, right? That's mostly due to circumstance, right? And maybe not the stats we'd expect from him. Sometimes you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And there may be no owner in football that enjoys trying to recapture the glory days as much as Jim Irsay, right? I mean, discount Jerry Jones himself. Now, I love Jim Irsay. I really do. That is my owner. That's the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, the team that I love, the team that I come to YouTube to speak about. But let's call it how we see it, right? Listen, not that Reggie Wayne and Robert Mathis are unqualified. In fact, let me just nip that in the bud and not even imply it. They're like the opposite of that, right? There's literally no one I would rather be coaching the positions that they're coaching on the Colts than Reggie Wayne and Robert Mathis, all right? Let's get that out of the way. But on top of that, or with that, make no mistake, there is a reason they're coaching on this team. I mean, my Lord, Jim Irsay hired Jeff Saturday, who we all love. All of Colts Nation supports Jeff Saturday. But Jim Irsay hired him to be the head coach, and he'd only head coached a high school football team, right? When it comes to decisions based on loyalty, gut, right, and like emotion, there is not much I put past Mr. Irsay. And when you think about, right, the possibility of the Colts, let's say, having picks between 7 and 10, let's say, right? You don't think Jim Irsay is the type of guy that if we have that pick, he's going to be looking at Michael Pittman's contract, and Lord knows Jim doesn't want to spend the money. I mean, just look at the cap room every year, right? You all want to blame Bargain Bin Ballard for that one, but this type of behavior predates him entirely. But I digress, right? So if there's any owner that would be looking at Pittman's contract and the possibility of having Marvin Harrison Jr., and then he just says, the hell with Pittman, right? I mean, let's go get this guy on a rookie deal, even if it takes some blockbuster trade-up scenario. Now, if there's any owner that this is not a far-fetched idea, it's our guy Jim Irsay, right? In fact, in a world where this was not far-fetched for multiple owners, the Colts would still be atop the list. And why? Because Jim Irsay, that's why. And this type of conversation, may I add, gets a little weird for me because I legitimately think Michael Pittman is sensational, and I certainly don't want to fall into the business of trying to get him out of Indianapolis or reach into his pockets or whatever. But make no mistake, Michael Pittman has a lot of pressure to perform on him this season, no matter which way you slice it. Whether it's just his standing in Indianapolis in the shadow of Marvin Harrison Jr. creeping over his shoulder, or just the possibility that due to the circumstance and the young quarterback that he might not be able to produce the numbers that give him the type of pull and power he wants in free agency, he has got something to prove. But that right there is a topic for a different day. And when I say a different day, I mean this week. So stay tuned. But as far as the Marvin Harrison Jr. episodes go, or episode goes, I guess episodes too. I won't make another one this offseason, maybe next year. I'm going to wrap it up right here. So for those of you who made it to the end, thank you so much. Appreciate it. If you're still here listening to me rambling about something that has nothing to do with anything, right? You couldn't have hated it that much. So go ahead, shoot the like. Returning listeners, please subscribe. New listeners, please subscribe as well. But I'm pretty confident that I'll get a lot of Colts Nation along the way as I continue to improve. I will be here for a very long time. So maybe one day you'll like me, right? And yeah, I would say that is probably it. So until next time, my name is Justin. You just listened to the Ride on the Bench Colts cast. Go Colts.